All right, welcome in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is Friday. We're going to get you set for the weekend. November the 7th. A lot of college football talk to get into today. Maybe some coaching rumors, coaching carousel rumors, contract rumors at least. Get into a couple of games last night. Raiders go down to the Broncos. Broncos now 8-2, 7-10. 188 and 220 yards in this game. So, yeah, not super exciting.
The worst game you've seen in the NFL this year?
I've not watched a complete game in the NFL this year, so
yes.
I don't know if I'm qualified to say that or not. But sounds like it would have been. But it was the exact opposite of what we got last night with UTSA and USF. South Florida has a 2-touchdown lead before they possessed the football last night. They're now 7-2, 55-23. They knock off the Roadrunners. Byron Brown, 14-15, 239, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 9 carries, 109 yards on the ground. Had a fantastic day. Keyshawn Singleton, 4 catches, 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. South Florida is a really good football team, Greg. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I mean, they got veteran quarterback play. They have skill position guys that can go. Obviously, vets all over the field, an attacking defense. They're just a really good football team.
They're excellent. They got weapons. They got, like you said, a veteran quarterback, and they can just attack you in so many ways. I mean, they jumped on him so fast last night. I mean, it was as if UTSA didn't have a chance. Did it not just immediately? I mean, from the opening kick, it didn't feel like there was a chance.
It did not.
Zero shot.
And I'm kind of wondering, what's going on with Jeff Traylor. I don't really understand because he's a guy that I respect. He's a guy that I like, and I think most other people like him and respect him. But if you recall last week after they upset Tulane, like he had a lot of choice words for John Summerall, and I didn't hear Summerall say anything, but there was some back and forth. I don't. It feels like almost after every game now, either he has something or the other coach has something to say about him. Like it's starting to feel like it's every week, and I know he's been very outspoken about some of the bigger schools taking his players and coming after his guys, and some of the stuff that he's kind of gone off on. You're like, yeah, man, like I feel bad for him. Like it's tough. It shouldn't really be that way. You shouldn't have to operate like that. But I just feel like there's an issue with somebody, including him, some way after every game that he plays.
Why is that? Like, I mean,
that's what I don't understand.
I don't really get it. Last week was the most noticeable example. He has been, like you said, outspoken in the past about guys coming and getting them, but I've never heard a bad thing said about Jeff Traylor ever. Not one time. I've only heard positive reviews from other coaches. I've only heard positive reviews from those that have spent time around him. So you've been around him. Your second home outside of Lexington is San Antonio. Like what has been the response from others to you about Jeff Traylor in the past?
So I've never heard guys say anything bad about him. And even though I have been to San Antonio 78 times in my professional career, I have never covered him or spoken to him. So I feel like 5 years ago, he was one of the most respected coaches in college football. He was mentioned for all these different jobs, NIL starts. He's essentially frustrated and mad every time he gets in front of a microphone. But now, I mean, it's he and other coaches kind of going back and forth on a regular basis. And Alex Golis had choice words for him last night. You heard him going off on Summerall the night before. I think it was 3 weeks ago. He and whoever they played were kind of going back and forth in the media. I get the frustrations with the coaches at the higher levels because and a lot of these guys, like you talk to Summerall about that, though, and he'll just say, yeah, man, it's what it is. What do you want me to do? I can't change it. I think Golis is the exact same way. Like this is how it goes. And listen, Golis got a chip. Golis ain't afraid. We saw him with Tom Herman a couple of years ago after the game, and Tom Herman wanted to get in his face and say things, and Golis like, nah, man, I got you. I said what I said. It's over. We're moving on. But Jeff Traylor's not a guy that I really thought was going to be this sort of back and forth. I hate everybody. I got a problem with everybody head coach, and it feels like we're kind of heading in that direction.
Very strange. But I think guys, as they are at places for as long as they've been at places, and maybe I'm reading too much into this. Think about how much we talked about UTSA 4 years ago compared to how much we talk about UTSA today. Where has the attention been in the G5 over the last, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, they had about a third of it, maybe more than a third of all that conversation for about a good 2 to 3 year run. I feel like
they were rolling. I mean, and then guess what? Like we are also every single time a job came open in Texas, it was, hey, you better go get a guy like Jeff Traylor. The relationship with the high school athlete, the relationship with the high school coach, the embeddedness of how Jeff Traylor has been a high school coach in Texas and how that's kind of a fraternity. So you might think long and hard about going and getting him and bringing him in or someone like that. Like we talked about him kind of being a poster child for how to hire at the G5 level in the state of Texas. And I feel like now maybe he's like squeaky wheel gets the grease. We're talking about him. So maybe this is his intention is to, hey, if they're not going to talk about us because of the quality of our play, like we have to garner some attention. And if it requires me being super brash and outspoken, then so be it. But we got to do something to get people to pay attention to our program a little more than they are right now.
Yeah, just based on the tone of some of this stuff, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not really buying that because his issues feel personal almost all the time. This is Alex Golish after the game talking about Jeff Traylor leading into this one in which they were dominant last night.
I do want to say I respect Coach Traylor so much. I respect the program that he's built from the ground up. Just want to guard, and I've kept my mouth shut on it all week, but I do want to guard the comments made about that, and I understand what he's doing. He's trying to generate more for his own program, but don't do it at the expense of us. Don't do it at the expense of commenting about the resources we have, about what our roster looks like, and how much money is spent on a roster. Your prerogative is to go build your own program, but I think when you're talking about money on a roster, you're taking away from the fact that there's a bunch of dudes in that locker room that have poured into their process. There's a bunch of coaches that have demanded it of them. And I think when you make comments like that rosters are bought, it discredits the fact that there's recruiting, that there's relationships being built, that there's development and coaching going on.
So, again, they know what this is at this level, Greg. They know the game they're playing. You don't have to like it, but this is 2 weeks in a row now he's pointed at the other team about maybe what they have he doesn't have, what they're trying to do that he's not trying to do. And I talked to too many of these guys like Ryan Silverfield who, while it may sound like complaining, the end result of the conversation is, but this is the world we live in. And it's starting to sound like the ones that are more successful, the coaches I talk to, at least at that level, that's kind of where they are with it. And yeah, it's I don't know what's happening in San Antonio to where he can't get it to where he at least feels good about it, but it doesn't feel like it's happening, and it's just a little bit odd to me.
Well, I think the gap that we talk about all the time in the SEC, the Big Ten, I mean, the Big Ten has probably the biggest gap in what the higher ups are spending versus what the lower ups, or I guess you got the higher up and what's the lower version of that?
Lower downs?
Lower down? I don't know. Whatever the high side is of spending, the gap is probably the widest in the Big Ten. But from what I gather at the G5 level, it's pretty stark, relatively speaking, what Tulane and Memphis have to work with. USF maybe in that conversation as well. I'm not sure. But in talking to coaches in that league, it's like, dude, we have one arm tied behind our back relative to what our competitors have. In the SEC, frankly, it's not really that big of a gap between the highest levels and the lowest levels. It's not that big relative to other programs. Now, this year going forward, it will adjust, of course, but it's going to be very interesting to see how many feelings get hurt in the future because guys take jobs or stay at jobs that don't have the resources. I mean, you can't be mad at other coaches because they have more resources than you. You just can't. It just doesn't make sense to me.
So, Jeff Traylor just angry I guess, at life, and is what it's going to be and how it's going to be moving forward. We'll spin that into some coaches that will probably be angry after this weekend and one that will be happy after this weekend. We don't know exactly which one that will be, but Kalen DeBoer is going to be welcoming LSU to Tuscaloosa. GMAC's going to be traveling over to T-Town. He'll be on the call for that one. And Kalen DeBoer on the opposing quarterback that they are going to be facing this weekend.
He continues to take the steps. I just seen from last year to this year, just the consistency, and I think he takes care of the ball much better this year, and has another level of command. Understands the guys that are around him, and so just really impressed with the way he has played. And you can see the skill set a year ago. You can tell he's a competitor. He's gonna try to keep plays alive and things like that, and make the throws. Making the throws is never going to be a problem for him. So again, done a nice job leading their team. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the conference.
If this offense does change a little bit, Greg, and it just operates in a little bit of a different fashion, that could be formations, play calling, things that could maybe ease up the burden of Garrett Nussmeier a little bit. How realistic are some of those things for this football team the rest of the way, starting with Alabama?
Well, I think it's realistic, but I think the tough thing for Garrett Nussmeier is at this point of the season, it's going to be hard to change your offense's identity. I don't care what kind of bye week you're coming off of or how much time you've changed or you change play callers. Like, unless you're bringing back the offensive line from last year, probably not going to be able to just all of a sudden morph into some wildly successful rushing attack that could take the pressure off the quarterback. It's just not changing there. But I do think a slightly more creative approach to the play calling would be beneficial. Like, I like Joe Sloan a lot, by the way. I really do. I think Joe Sloan was slightly hamstrung with what Brian Kelly wanted to do at running back. Like, typical of several older school coaches, they want the guy out there that they trust. And Harlem Berry, for example, is a guy that had not yet earned Brian Kelly's trust based on my assessment of how many carries he got because he wasn't good in protection. And I do think that there will be a steadfast commitment to trying to create opportunities on the ground, which is big. It just, will it matter at this point? Because if all of a sudden you think Alex Atkins going to just go deep into the playbook and all of a sudden start dialing up all these pass concepts that are going to make Garrett Nussmeier more comfortable? I don't know. You tell me. You think that's likely?
No, I don't mean it so much from the pass concepts perspective, and I think Joe Sloan's an awesome guy. I just feel like that there are so many things inside this offense that could have been done to help. Formationally and from a play calling perspective, out of those formations, it didn't feel a lot of time like plays were married up to one another. Like you weren't building off of a lot of different things. It looked a lot like, hey, we're going out to call plays. Like just calling plays. And that part of it was hard to watch sometimes. Now, is that offensive line creating big holes? No, they are not. Are they protecting well to be able to help with your elongated drops and things down the field? They sure were not. But I do feel like there were some things that potentially they could help out with. And a lot of the times when we would have those conversations about what might be next, kind of similar to what we've talked about with Auburn this year, it was the same answers every time. It's like, yeah, but that was 4 weeks ago, and we're still not seeing it. So that's the part that I wonder, can a little bit of that be either tinkered or repaired to a certain extent to be able to help a little bit more? I'm not real sure how that goes. Frank Wilson, the LSU interim head coach, though, his scouting report on the quarterback he is going to be facing in Tuscaloosa this weekend.
The director of their team, he orchestrates it. I think he can make every throw. He's accurate at every level. I think he does an outstanding job of reading defense, throws into windows with great anticipation, but also knows how to throw receivers open. You lose sight of the athlete that he is because he can tuck it when need be to gain yardage for his football team. A lot of respect and admiration for his style of play and how he has led their football team.
I want to play this again real quick because I try to come up with creative ways to say this, and I think this may be the best way that I've heard stated what Ty Simpson is doing this year. John, give me the first line of Frank Wilson's answer there again.
The director of their team.
I love that right there. And I feel like it is beyond accurate, Greg, for what Ty Simpson is doing this season for Alabama.
Completely in control, right? Just completely in control, completely at peace with the plan on every snap, totally comfortable. He's playing at a ridiculously efficient high level. I mean, he has been for weeks. Now, the last time out, probably his worst day. And yet, game on the line, got to have it, big drive. He was as good as he's ever been in that final drive. So I think that I'm very proud of Ty Simpson with how he's progressed and how he has continued to get better. And every week, still a young player. People don't want to acknowledge this, but the guy's still only started 8 games in his career. I mean, it's not like this guy has started 20-plus games. I mean, we never saw this level of command from Jalen Milroe, who started a ton of football games. Even in his final game of his career, he still looked like a fish out of water sometimes when asking him to process pre-snap and things like that. So it's like he's still learning, and every week it gets just a touch deeper, a little bit more, a little bit more. And one thing that will be really important in this game is his pre-snap understanding of where the pressure is coming from. This is a difficult defense to diagnose. There are some tells, but they're going to be aggressive. They're going to pressure. They're going to do things like that. So it's going to be paramount for him to be on the same page with his offensive line, to block him up, to get the protection sorted, and to know where his vulnerabilities are in protection, because they're going to try to overload him, I think. I think Blake Baker doesn't care. That's my guess in this game. He's sitting there saying, enough of this conservative. We're going to live by the sword. We're going to die by the sword. We're going to knock them out with sacks and net tackles for loss and negative plays, interceptions. Like, we're going to create big plays defensively. And I can't worry about this complimentary stuff. Like, I'm not worried about interim coach Frank Wilson's record. Like, I want to go and try to win the game on defense. That's my guess, because he's probably looking at saying, yeah, the offense can't do anything. So I'm going to try to win the game on defense, and let's figure it out. Do you see it coming that way as well?
Yeah, I will say this, though. We've seen other defensive coordinators who, quote, like, don't care, kind of like that. I played against Jolie Dunn. I think he was one of the first sort of innovators of not a lot of rhyme and reason for what happens.
Or none, you mean?
We've kind of seen like Grantham in sort of the way that he plays, like super aggressive, come all at you. Blake Baker, I would say, is one of the more sound, overly aggressive coordinators I've seen. Like, it's when you rewind what looks like complete mayhem, it's much easier to make sense of what the overall plan was. Whereas there are some guys, I think Durkin's great with this too, because I think he's played the more aggressive card this year, and that's why I love when people say, "Oh, DJ's the 3-4 guy," or no, he's the even guy. And it's like after DJ went to A&M and was essentially forced to play more 4-down, he's an everything coach. He doesn't have a defense anymore, and I think that's also allowed him to get a little bit more aggressive because he just knows how to handle more things on the back end with it. However, it's going to look up front. But his has a lot of rhyme and reason, too, when he is sort of playing that super aggressive card. So while it is still difficult not to figure out, I don't know if there's as many holes in it as there is some of those other ones, because those guys actually did not give a rip. Like, they were like, we're going to make you pay for what we're doing. And if you can figure out how to offset that, good for you. We don't have an answer for it either, but we just think we're going to win first. So it doesn't really matter. But it's going to be an interesting chess match, because Ty has done a great job with just, again, being the director of the team, so to speak.
Yeah. And I like very much what Blake does, by the way. So I hope that wasn't interpreted as like a negative.
No.
I think it's the ultimate sign of respect with a guy that can be that aggressive while not being reckless. Like, for example, Lance Guidry, who is on staff at LSU, by the way. Like, there were times where he'd blitz where it's like, goodness gracious, man, that's reckless. Grantham, same deal. Like, there are times where it's like, goodness gracious, dude, dial it back just a hair. Like, everybody knows you're bringing zero pressure here. Like, don't let them get to their zero beaters and carve you up in a gotta-have-it situation. Like, I think that there's a lot of respect there, but I think this is a really important game. It's a great game to have at home, first and foremost. Secondly, it's really important game for Ty Simpson to process quickly. It's a really important game for Ty Simpson to see what's coming, diagnose it, have answers. Because if they overload the protection, guess what? It happens. Sometimes they get you. But you got to have answers when they do. And this is a really good game for him to flex his acumen and comfort within the offense.
All right, so we'll continue discussing Alabama-LSU, Auburn-Vanderbilt. Going to get to that. Stanford Steve with us at 7:30. Steve Robertson going to join us at 8. Covers Mississippi State. Now, we want to talk about the Georgia game a little bit, but also he has covered multiple coaching hires by John Cohen. So we'll get his thoughts on where he thinks John Cohen's mind is, how he has handled some of these in the past, and does that give us any further inkling as to how it's going with Auburn today. All that and more on Mac and Cube today. Before we move off to our break, though, Greg, tell our listeners if they're moving out of their home, who they should call.
Well, it'd be Crocker Moving Search. They're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. You can trust them in your home. You need your whole home packed up and moved, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call and visit them online today for a free quote. The website's crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Service for your next move.
All right, we will get to a break, come back, talk a little bit more on Alabama-LSU, move into Vandy Auburn. It is a Friday, which means it's a Max Ball Friday. We're going to break down as many games as we can, starting next right here on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Talking some Alabama and LSU in that previous segment. You can be a part of the show, 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. Any games you want to discuss coming up this weekend, we'll get to as many as we can. Stanford Steve coming up in about 15 minutes. Actually, about 5 minutes. Excuse me. Lost track of time there. We'll discuss a couple of the lines with him, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he's looking at, maybe what we need to stay away from. Probably could be more important as far as what we're going to discuss with Stanford Steve. But when you look at Alabama's offense, G-Mac, from a protection standpoint, more tight ends, more two-back, move the pocket, all the above. What do you expect to see from Ryan Grubb going against that defense that we described a few minutes ago?
I think they'll just do their wing empty stuff, where you get chip protection for the tackles. I think you probably start the game by allowing Caden Proctor to kind of do his own thing, help the right side. But I think you'll see that wing slight empty mirrored concepts where you have a guy outside and a guy inside. So it basically looks like a 3-by-1. It kind of looks like an empty set, but really the back and the tight end are both just a yard on, yard off outside of those tackles to kind of help out off the edges. So I think you'll see a lot of that. That's my guess. I don't know. I think you'll see a decent amount of screen game. My whole thing is coming out of I haven't talked to Bama yet. We'll go down there today. I want to know what they worked on. Because one of the things I would have worked on is screen game. Another thing I would have worked on is I would have tried to have rep some of the backs to see if there's a guy that can actually break 160, or 65 yards, 70 yards if possible. If they get a crease, I don't know if that's AKD or who else, whoever that might be, but is there a back in there with some next level juice that we can maybe feature in some of those screen games? And then I would try to figure out alternatives to their chip protection. They have some with tight end screen, but they don't have a ton because that chip protection's been so good for them this year.
So that's a couple of the things we're going to be looking at out of this Alabama-LSU matchup. Frank Wilson, LSU interim head coach. Also, we heard him reference it a little earlier in the week, the extra physicality at practice. He described it a little bit leading into this game.
I thought it went well. That's exactly what we're talking about in respect to where we're at in the season. It's not tackle football to the ground, but it's sincere contact where you take your face mask and you press it upon your opponent and you thud him up and you let him run. And in the trenches, it's a combat zone all the time. And so the physicality and the toughness of your team, your DNA is at times in that portion of the game. And so we match each other, offense and defense respectively, with the ability to try to gouge for big runs and ability to try to fit to not allow that to happen, run fit to not allow that to happen. And so I thought it was spirited. I thought our team really got after it, and it kind of lit a fire. They were asking for more, but you have to control those settings naturally, and we did so. But to see our team salivate and want to compete and want redemption if one or the other got the better was certainly rewarding for us.
I'm going to tell you guys, I can't keep up with how LSU is managing governor, AD, president,
too much for
head coach, the rules of engagement or who is actually doing what. But whoever is in charge of the next head coach, I might lay it down right now. Frank Wilson's not allowed to talk in front of a microphone anymore. Because the more I hear him talk, the more I like him. And the more I feel like that should be your guy. Like everything just makes sense that he says. And how many times we hear all these coaches that are just bloating and pontificating and just rambling and running their mouth about things that don't have anything to do with anything. Like everything seems dialed in with him. And it's exact and it's detailed. I just be careful, LSU people making decisions. I wouldn't let that guy talk in front of many more microphones because you're not going to have a choice if he pulls off a couple wins here down the stretch, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it, Greg.
I mean, I don't think he's got a chance of getting it, but there's a lot of similarities to when Ed Ogeron got it.
Yep.
What's funny is like Frank Wilson is 9 games under 500 as a head coach. Oh no, 14 games under 500 as a head coach between McNeese and UT San Antonio. Ed Ogeron was 15 games under 500 when he became the head coach at LSU. He was 10-25 at Ole Miss. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it. There are some parallels there. Frank Wilson, of course, is a lot more buttoned up, a lot more presidential, I feel like. But then again, there was something that was appealing to the Louisiana contingent that was making the hire the last time around. When Ed O got the job, they wanted a guy that really reflected the toughness and embodiment of what LSU Tiger football is supposed to look like. So I think Frank Wilson's great. I love him. I think he's a great guy and great coach. But no, I don't think in this day and age he's likely to get the job unless they finish 4-0, which is a pretty dang tall order given the circumstances.
Absolutely. Okay, more on college football coming up this weekend. Stanford Steve set to join us on the other side. We're going to ask him about a couple of totals that are out there. Going to ask him about a couple of other games that maybe you're unsure of where you should be on, which side at least, coming up this weekend. As football season moves on, you know that means changes in the weather are coming. Protect your HVAC system with a checkup from a trained comfort specialist. So when the cold weather hits, you'll have peace of mind. You're protected by America's most reliable and trusted brand. Find a comfort specialist near you at train.com. It's hard to stop a train. Back with Stanford Steve right after this, next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. He joins us each and every week. Thanks to our friends at Atlas Senior Living, GMAC. It is Stanford Steve of College Game Day.
Go to atlasseniorliving.com, ATLAS, seniorliving.com. They are awesome. Really, really have enjoyed getting to know everybody over there at Atlas Senior Living. And what you can do is you can go on there and you can join their football pick'em contest. The winners from last week, want to give a shout out to Atlas Public winners Brandon Bishop and Clayton Bromby. And then Atlas resident winner, Jean Purdy from the Goldton at St. Pete in St. Petersburg, Florida. Atlas Senior Living is a premier senior housing company serving residents and families in 41 communities across the United States. Please visit www.atlasseniorliving.com to find a community near you, and they always sponsor our time with Stanford Steve. Stanford, how are you, my friend?
I am very good. Out at the old Fast Friday practice for the Red Raiders. I just, many people have told you, but I don't know how you went to Alabama coming with all this that's offered in Lubbock, Texas. It's spectacular out here.
You know, it is. Tumbleweed capital of the world, baby. And I remember when I called Mike Leach to say, hey, I'm not coming. I'm going to go to Alabama instead. And he goes, all right, well, have fun throwing it 10 times a game. He wasn't wrong. In the Natty, I threw it 11. But, hey, don't care. Got a ring. But yeah, no, it was a cool place when you take into account what kind of offense they ran.
Yeah, no doubt. It's I think it's spectacular here. Seriously, it's like I was here in 08 for the Crabtree game, and I can't tell you how different. Everything's brand new. I mean, one of the end zones was done twice over since that game in 08, and then just getting the tour this morning before the walkthrough. It's really, really cool what McGuire's done. Obviously, they're plenty invested, but like now, I'm just talking numbers. I don't know what it was when you were getting recruited. They have over 42,000 students. That's insane when you think about Lubbock, the size of it, and like they're already having, they just keep building. Obviously, all the schools are with enrollments going up, but 40,000 is over double what they had 10 years ago. This place is going to be rocking. They've been camping out since Monday. And it's awesome. It's real. They're fully investment. You feel the excitement, and you look at the schedule. At the beginning of the year, you're like, you know what? The Big 12, if Texas Tech's going to be the team with all the money they've spent and the transfers they've got, this is the game that they're going to need, and it's awesome to be here.
Stanford Steve joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline with us each and every week, thanks to our friends at Atlas Senior Living. That game is obviously going to be massive. We just spent some time talking Alabama and LSU. I said, the more I hear Frank Wilson talk, the more I'm like, I love this dude. And I said, I'd quit letting him get in front of a microphone because he just sounds like the natural to be that head coach. With the extra week, with him coming in, making some changes and adjustments, how much more scary is this game now than maybe if the Brian Kelly era was still sort of dragging out for LSU, for Alabama, in your opinion?
Yeah, I just think it's about the personnel, Cole. I get it. There's a rejuvenation. The first day Frank took over, he let the old LSU players in. They come in, they take a picture. The excitement level's up. But I still watch them, man. I like that offense going on the road. I've seen it too much. And it's not like, hey, we're going to roll our sleeves up and we're going to run the ball 50 times. They don't have the capacity to do that. So as tough as it's going to be, and Reese is going to make a point tomorrow about the show, the old lame duck game when Coach O goes in there and loses 20-14, knowing he's gone, and the ball's up in the air for Max Johnson with a chance to upset, Alabama undefeated. I just don't see it with this team because of the lack of capability on the offensive side. Sure, LSU could hang around for a half, but the wherewithal and LSU's strength is what the receivers on offense. Like that's Alabama's strength, the secondary. So it might be ugly early on, but I still think Alabama has way too much firepower. And I've seen Alabama overcome adversity, right? On the road at Missouri, on the road at South Carolina. I think, when they get their back against the wall, we're going to get a good Bama team. And, LSU got diced up against A&M. So I think Alabama's offense is more polished, and therefore I still go with the home team.
I love the card this week. I'm hoping you do too. A few that jump out. One is Iowa and Oregon. That line's still sitting at 6.5. Not surprising. I think there's a misconception of what Oregon is, and I think the community, the public, thinks Oregon's a juggernaut, when in reality there's a few flaws. There's a few times where they haven't put it all together, especially against super physical football teams. So 6.5 on the road in Iowa City, nasty weather expected. Which side are you on there?
I think there's three that stick out, Greg, this week, and they're all at home, catching a touchdown. It's that Iowa team, along with Missouri, who's starting a backup quarterback. But when you look at Iowa, right, and you think, Cole, we've talked about it a million times, Oregon, they got to move around on defense. That's when they're most effective. That plays right into Iowa's, zone schemes in the run game. And when I go back and I watch Iowa and Indiana, I still think Iowa's going to be kicking themselves. Like, they had that game. They had it. You don't ever see Iowa make a mistake in the fourth quarter, and that's how Mendoza gets the ball back and throws the long one to Surratt, and they get the hell out of there with a 15-10 win. So I'm on Iowa. I love the path that is there for them. I get it. They got to go to Los Angeles, after this. But for what you want at the beginning of a season, and those playoff rankings come out, and you just want an opportunity, you just want a chance. They got the beneficial ranking off that close loss against Indiana. You got Oregon coming in for a game with bad weather. You got everything you want. So yeah, I think Iowa dictates the game. And we've seen Oregon got some ugly wins out last year at Wisconsin. Wasn't pretty, but they got it done. I think this game is going to be just like that. But I think Iowa has the capability to win the game. So I like Iowa plus the point.
Stanford Steve joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. What did you name this weekend, Greg? Scary Saturday? Scary?
Yes.
Stub your toe Saturday.
Stub your toe Saturday? Scary Saturday?
Okay.
So how many of these higher-ranked teams do you feel like are really going to be threatened? Say Penn State, Indiana, Mississippi State, Georgia. I think we could probably make a better case for Missouri against A&M, Iowa at Oregon, specifically since they're at home. If there's another that you want to throw out there, maybe Cal, Louisville, like how many of these higher ranked teams, or maybe the only ranked team in the matchup, do you think should be on high alert this weekend?
I think all. I mean, look at what Georgia's done in first half. Look at what Mississippi State did at home, Arizona State. Look at what they did at home against Tennessee. They ended up losing to Tennessee. But that is a brutal loss, but they dictated. And I just think Georgia's going into an absolute buzzsaw. And when you look at Georgia and the big plays they've given up, that personnel in the secondary is there to get got. And Mississippi State has the opportunity of a freaking season to get Georgia coming in. I get people want night games. There was talk here about wanting a night game. I don't care. I think the energy is that much that it's not going to matter when you have a place like Lubbock and Starkville. So I think Georgia's up against it. As long as that's over a touchdown, I believe Mississippi State can handle that. And then what was it? What was the other one? The first one you said, Missouri. There's another home dog.
I'm trying to think what the first. Penn State, Indiana. Did you mention that?
Oh
one?
yeah,
Mississippi State, Georgia.
That one I'm keeping my eye on, and Hamill's the best there is with the injuries. We got in the car at 6:30 this morning. I'm like, all right, fire up your Indiana people, because we got to know who's playing in this game. It sounds like they're really banged up. I'm going back and watching the Maryland game. Like, Fisher didn't even play, and I think he's the quarterback of that defense. So as bad as Penn State was, they fought for what? Give them a half. At home, is there one more effort? I just like what I've seen from Indiana's run game on the road. I think they've shown they had a wherewithal. They keep rotating through the backs. Every one of them that they feature more, I like better than the other. Start with Hemby, and then lastly the guy that leads the team in rushing. That's a stay away for me, just because it's over 2 touchdowns. But what Indiana has health-wise, I think, will tell you a lot. That line could fluctuate if news comes out about the injuries.
All right, Steve, we're going to let you run. It is Lubbock. Thank you very much for hopping in. We appreciate it. Stanford Steve with College Game Day. Cell service, probably no big surprise there, G-Mac, with the way everyone describes Lubbock being out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I'm a little surprised. It sounded like he was at practice, though. I did hear a whistle, so hopefully he is out there grinding and getting some good inside scoop. And as always, he's brought to us by our friends at Atlas Senior Living, ATLAS seniorliving.com. One more shout out to the winners from last week, always appreciate that they are willing to go on and pick some winners and be vulnerable. So this week's winners, Clayton Bromberg. I got that pronunciation wrong, so I messed that up. They were the local winners. And then to Brandon Bishop, and then the resident winner, Gene Purdy of the Goldton at St. Petersburg in St. Petersburg, Florida. So go check them out, atlasseniorliving.com, to find a community near you and join that football pick'em contest. You can win a $150 Amazon gift card. So go check them out, atlasseniorliving.com.
I would like you to ask our guy at Atlas Senior Living one question. Since they have been a sponsor on this show, how many pick'ems have there been, and how many has Clayton Bromberg won? Because it's at least triple anyone else, I would have to say. I think there was a lady last year that won like 4 out of 5 or something, but Clayton Bromberg's almost every other week, I feel like. And he gets what? The Amazon gift cards? It's not like
Amazon gift card, $150.
I think the Bromberg's okay, but he can pick game. Somebody else needs to go in there and talk to him about maybe helping them with some picks. So, all right, when we come back, more on this weekend's games. We continue a Max Ball Friday right after this on Jocks. Well, already got the travel alert from American, so we were wondering if this was going to be a problem today, and I guess we're going to say yes to that. So there we are.
What happened?
I don't really know yet. It just says travel alert. Do you want to
So
do you want to change your schedule? But why would it be asking me if I wanted to change my schedule? I don't understand. Why do you even give me the travel alert if it hasn't been moved?
The good news is you have literally 36 hours until your game for the most part. And it's a 6-hour drive. So worst case scenario, you can drive it.
It'd be great for the back.
I mean, you don't want to, but you can.
Yep.
I mean, it's not ideal, but it can be done.
Definitely not ideal. All right, coming up tomorrow, 2 o'clock on ESPN. Wow, excuse me. 2 o'clock on ESPN Plus. You got 5-3 Jacksonville State at 2-6 UTEP. 2:30 E Plus. 4-5 ETSU at 1-8 Samford. Is Damien on the call for that game? Damien? What did he say?
Yes.
Yeah, Damien will be on the call for that one. That's 2:30 on E Plus. ETSU Samford looking for win number 2 this year. 2 o'clock Prairie View 6-3 is at Alabama A&M 4-5. 2 o'clock also 4-4 Texas Southern at 6-2 Alabama State. You also have UAB at Rice. Now, UAB sitting there at 3-5. You can get this one, all of a sudden you're at 4-5. 2 of the last 3 could get you bowl eligible, which would be crazy. However, North Texas, South Florida, and Tulsa. Tulsa just a 2-win football team, but we already talked about South Florida, that win last night, how good they are. North Texas, also a really good football team this year. So probably need to get this one, UAB. That's 1 o'clock tomorrow. So some of your local games that are going to be going tomorrow. We were talking Alabama and LSU. Is there another aspect of this game outside of that high pressure rate that LSU is going to bring that you feel like bad matchup, definitely something to keep your eye on for Alabama in this game against this LSU football team, Greg?
Well, I mean, obviously they're a heavy man team. So anytime you get a Mansour Delane against a Ryan Williams or Jeremy Bernard, I think that's fascinating. You know, I mean, I think Mansour Delane's been as good as about any cover corner in the country. So I'm looking forward to just the individual matchup there. I think the other thing I'm just real curious about with some of the LSU has been a zone team as far as run game. Like they want to run split zone. They want to motion the tight end down and kind of run them across the formation and run the ball between the tackles and all this stuff. Like that's what they are. Now, do they have some counter? Do they have some gap trap? Sure, a little, but not a ton. Alex Atkins, the new play caller, his background is in the gap trap counter world. So tell me this, Cole. I mean, you've gone through a coaching change. How hard is it for an offensive line and a run game to alter their identity in 7 practices?
It's tough, but there are things that you can definitely do. Sometimes getting away from some stubbornness into things that you're better at, maybe putting a little more emphasis on those, I do think can make things a little bit different. Maybe other individuals being pressed into action, like you were talking about with one guy who's looking at how running backs should be managed or handled, and the next guy comes in and says, yeah, he's a little undersized, but he's got more speed and athleticism. I get it. Or, you know, maybe he's not our best in pass protection, but he's going to give us more explosive plays. Get him in the game. And if your interim can do things like that, I mean, Bill Oliver did a couple of those things with us, either practice habits or saying we're going to get away from specifically this on offense and just focus on these 2 things. I think it can help you some. The being able to block part is what I'd be most concerned about. And there have not been a lot of individuals for LSU this year that have been great at that. But I'll say this. You getting the chutes and sleds out and you're actually hitting one another in practice, that can help. And there wasn't a ton of that apparently happening with LSU before Brian Kelly's departure. So we'll see. I don't know if it ultimately makes a massive difference, but I do think that there are some things you're going to be able to get that can be just a little bit different and can offer ways to be a little bit more successful. That injury report for LSU and Alabama, Gabriel Elford going to be out for LSU. Tyree Adams up front on that offensive line going to be out. Zach Weeks doubtful. Whit Weeks questionable. And Carius Kern on the offensive line probable. No massive surprises there really for LSU. Out for Alabama, Quay Russaw, Jamarian Latham, Jeremiah Beeman all up front. And then Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. and Caden Jones at DB and linebacker. Danny Lewis questionable at tight end. Ryan Williams probable for Alabama at wide receiver. Any surprises for you with either of those teams, Greg?
No, nothing too crazy there. I think when you look at the injury report, the most significant, and I'll be curious to get your take on it, is Whit Weeks. Are you on the same page with me there?
Yeah, he's the biggest difference maker. that's mentioned really for both teams. I mean, outside of Ryan Williams, but I don't think there's a real question that he plays. So
Yeah,
LSU needs
I'd be
Whit Weeks in a
surprised
lot of ways. They need him in a lot of ways.
I think he's their most important player, arguably, on the entire roster. Now Whit Weeks has been downgraded to doubtful. So not great there. Because I think if Whit Weeks can go, you now have a guy that can take over the game on defense and an emotional leader in what might be an emotional game. So him hopefully turning the corner for LSU and playing would be remarkable turn of events. But based on yesterday's injury report, last night's injury report, and we'll check today's and tonight's, it's not looking good.
Tell you guys about Game Day Men's Health. If you're lacking energy, lacking sleep, feeling on edge, Game Day Men's Health can help you today. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com. You get the free PSA test, a free testosterone test, get your baseline health, and present the ways that they can help you. Peptides, weight loss programs, all available at Game Day Men's Health. Minimal upfront costs from the programs they offer. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com to be a better you. Back with more Max Ball Friday next on Mac and Cube in the morning.